So before you start writing, you need to write a journal article list to see whether which are the journals that indeed you might want to submit. And remember that the writing process is indeed a process. So you need practical exercises in order to perform it in the best possible way. And it's very different of writing an article from writing a thesis, because indeed, and I'm sorry to disappoint you at this point, but there is the 5% maximum of all the results that you provide in a PhD thesis that then is published. So is a very restricted number of results that you really need to capture the essence of your study. And this is what the article is about. So the thesis is all your journey throughout the discovery that are, of course, relevant, but not all those data would need to be inserted into an article. So you really needed to be able to summarize it as soon as possible. And the key difference are not only in the breadth of writing, but also on the style of writing, which needs therefore to be concise because of the length of the length difference between a journal article and a thesis, but also needed to be very clear and very structured in order to indeed capture the essential part of your investigation and write them in a paper. So this is why it's very important to have the basic of the writing, which is called indeed the ABC of research writing. What are those? So are the some principles that goes around accuracy, and that for accuracy it means really that you need to explain the methods and results with a lot of care, because people are then judging and evaluating and assessing whether you use the right method for those specific outcome, and they might suggest even potential other experiments to validate those outcomes with different methods. So you really need to be careful also in describing previous research that potentially use previous methodology, and assess why you are indeed proposing something that is more new and more up to date. But you also need to be very honest about the strength of your article, which of course you highlight and emphasize in your manuscript, but also with the limitation of your work. And I really would like to stress this word, because limitation of your work does not mean something negative. It means that you are conscious and you are criticizing in a constructive way all the gaps that you found, and those limitations might be taken over by many other researchers that wanted to continue working on those fields and find their niche in filling those gaps. So that is extremely important and appreciated, not simply by the editor, but by all reviewers that will assess your manuscript. Brevity. So you need to make things as simple as possible, but don't leave out important information. The story need to be sold, but indeed, you need to avoid redundancy and unnecessary word, uh, particularly in the title and the abstract, which are extremely important to make a first impression of your manuscript to the editor itself. But also you need to consider the importance and the length of every paragraph and sentence, and evaluate the need for and presentation of every table and figure. What are the results that best explain your story? What are the words that you can use that can not simply capture the attention of the reader, but can help you out in making that statement? This is what I mean for the story need to be sold, because you need to indeed report and relate what you did in the best possible way, leaving the minimum windows open for questioning, because indeed is when the story is not well said, that then reviewers might have doubts about what you're talking about. So the brevity and the clear messages are extremely important. So this is why is a practice, is a process that needs practice, because indeed it's not that we start writing from one day to the other. The clarity is crucial. So clear writing is a writing that cannot be misunderstood, that cannot be misinterpreted. So facts are facts, and you need to report it in a way that you don't allow the reviewer to question about what you are saying. So this is indeed very important. So think like a reader, and this is an advice that you need to take it very carefully, because most of the time, as an author and as the most knowledgeable person on that field, we take for granted that other people might have our own knowledge. It's not like that. So you need to think what the reader would like to indeed have as a message, and how a reader is interpreting your manuscript. This is why that is very important also to allow senior colleagues to review your manuscript, to be able then to identify and eliminate every ambiguity and focus on the clarity also at the level of every word that you use, every sentence, paragraph, and all the text need to be very well aligned. Keep in mind also the audience of the paper, and this is why, as a first thing, when before in the slides I mentioned that you needed to select the journal carefully, because according to the journal, every journal has a specific audience, and this is also what means to send the message through. So you need to think about what the co-authors might think, also what editors are interested of, what peer reviewer that you might potentially suggest are expert in, and which is the target audience of the journal to make the highest impact you can. And remember that those involved in the reviewer process can be also susceptible to biases, because they might also work on your same field, and therefore they might also let's say have more questioning, right? And this is why the clear message is critical. The addressing all limitation of your study is as well essential, because you open up your story to avoid susceptible biases. So be balanced, be mature in your writing, because this is what allows you also to navigate through those challenges. The content of the manuscript is essential. You might write in the best possible way, you might deliver the message in the best, indeed, with a clear message, with a meaningful and useful message. But if the content is not up to date, or is not crucial for the scientific community, then is a problem, right? So the presentation of the content on top of the meaning of the content, but how you present the data is really critical, because it allows you to convey all your thoughts in a logical manner, such as the reader arrives at the same conclusion as the author. If the presentation of the result is not really very well done, then the reader might question and have doubts about the core of your manuscript. Important to say is the English language, right? So English might not be your first language, you might not be a native, but you might always find an English speaker, if possible, that review the content and the language of your paper before submitting it. Regardless of primary language, you might find also colleagues and editors that you might know from different journals, that might also look for the content and how how the manuscript is written. But as well, it's important also to say that you might even ask for the help of specialist editing services.